Many times on this channel, we have talked about the importance of linking events. Linking events in Kenyan politics. But actually, it goes well beyond that. In this life, each and every one of us should be able to link events so that we get a clearer understanding of what is going on. Because if you just have information, that information, this information, the other information, but you cannot link them together, then that information is useless. The day you're able to link the pieces of information you have together, is the day of breakthrough for you. Is the day when all those different pieces of information will be super valuable to you. Now, currently there is a lot happening in Kenyan politics. I keep on repeating this, but I'm sure my fellow analysts will strongly disagree, because I see the way they struggle to get a topic for their videos. Right now, we can see many political analysts are forcing news where there's actually no news, emphasizing on particular developments while ignoring others which are much more terribly important. Now, currently, the weather is uncomfortably hot in most parts of Kenya. If you've been online over the last few days, you will have seen Kenyans complaining from different parts of the country. Nairobi, Kisumu, Western Kenya, etc., etc. People are complaining about the heat. Now, in my opinion, it is very important to be able to link the current weather, the heat, with something that is coming. It is very important. And I'm going to discuss that in detail and reveal what it is towards the tail end of my video. For now, I want to start with an event that unfolded on 5th August 2022, which in my opinion is very closely linked to the future, very shortly, of the UDA party and indeed the Kenya Kwanza coalition. Now, you will remember that 5th August 2022 was very close to the general elections. Politicians were busy campaigning. Presidential candidates, especially the two main candidates, were very busy campaigning countrywide. Kumekucha Chris was very busy covering those elections on your behalf. And at this particular time, I was in Kwale County. Now, that piece of information is important because this thing that happened right there in Kwale. Regulars on this channel will remember that at the time, I did a video on a UDA Ruto meeting, political campaign meeting, that I actually attended, bang right inside Kwale. And I talked about how that meeting was so poorly attended, but clever camera positioning and arrangement of that meeting gave people the impression, those who watched the news that night, that that meeting was packed. But I was there. It wasn't. Anyway, on this 5th day of August 2022, there was a very tragic event involving a campaign vehicle of the then incumbent Member of Parliament of Lunga Lunga constituency, which is in Kwale, Bwana Hatib Mwashetani. And that gory road accident claimed 4 lives from the campaign team of Bwana Mwashetani. And after that tragedy, Mwashetani himself talked to the press, and what he had to say was more than shocking. Mwashetani told Kenyans that he was very sure that that particular vehicle had been interfered with the night before. And it was this interference the night before that had caused that tragic accident. What the then Member of Parliament was actually saying is that there was a plan to assassinate. That is what he was really saying. It's as clear as day. And what he was also saying very clearly, because obviously the target would not be his small campaign team, insignificant members of his campaign team. No! The target was obviously the candidate. It was his campaign vehicle. He used it all the time. And in the heat of the campaigns for those general elections at the time, I know most of us missed that particular piece of information. Now, I want to ask you a question. Do you think it is linked to the eventual election results of Lunga Lunga constituency? I believe so. Because this is what happened. Mwashetani, a two-term legislator, shockingly lost to a newcomer, a rookie, Abwana Mangale Chiforomodo, who is now the current Member of Parliament. His political party, UDM, United Democratic Movement. Okay? Now you'll remember, UDM was affiliated to Azimio. However, we now know that UDM was a sister party to UDA, hiding inside the Azimio coalition. Don't get shocked. This is normal in politics. And in case you don't know, Mwashetani was very, very popular on the ground. Remember, I was covering those elections. Remember, I was in Kwale at the time. And word on the ground is that it was impossible to defeat Mwashetani, UDA or no UDA, because ODM has always been so popular in Kwale. We also know from the ground, the voters, that they believe those elections were rigged to favor certain candidates. Okay? Now, the question is, if they were indeed rigged, why would a UDA candidate be rigged out? The answer to that question is very simple. The UDA High Command does not like popular candidates who are capable of their own independent thinking. The party does not like that. And we have seen so many instances of that, especially in the Mount Kenya region. Independently popular candidates in UDA do not go very far. Just check the history. That should be rather obvious. And now, let me link these two events we have spoken about to a coming future event. How many people, how many politicians within the UDA family are livid about the 2022 elections? How many? There are many. It is not only Bwana Mwashetani, because his story is very painful. I just want to remind you that initially Mwashetani had launched a campaign for the gubernatorial seat in Kwale, but he was persuaded by the UDA High Command to stand down and instead defend his parliamentary seat. And he obeyed. And then you know what happened. We are talking about linking separate events so that, especially in political analysis, so that after you've been able to successfully link two or more events, everything makes perfect sense. When you're not able to make the link, everything is confusing. Everything is a mess. You can't make head or tail of anything. Let's move on to something else. About 2 or 3 days before the shilling suddenly started strengthening against the US dollar and other major foreign currencies, some UDA affiliated chap in the comments area of this channel made a comment that did not make sense. He said something to the effect that what is happening to the Kenya shilling, it has strengthened so dramatically against the US dollar. And people rushed to look at the exchange rate. There had been no change. A few days later, you know what happened? Let's link those two events. Obviously, this thing was planned. And this UDA blogger or representative just had his timing wrong. Because what he said that did not make sense then, a few days later, actually unfolded. And regulars here will remember what we said. We said that that rallying of the Kenya shilling was fake, engineered, and there was no way it was going to last. That's what we said. Now, over the last week or so, I have been closely following the movements of the shilling against major foreign currencies. And the miraculous strengthening of the Kenyan shilling from nowhere has stopped. And I checked before I came in to make this recording. It is now oscillating between 145 and 146 to the US dollar. In fact, all signs are that the dollar will start gaining once again against the Kenyan shilling. And so, what future developments can we link this to? Well, anything that is fake, anything that is artificial, is always passing. It doesn't last. Bottom line, brace yourselves, for a very weak shilling. Even weaker than it was before this recent, mysterious rallying of the shilling against the US dollar. Now I can hear somebody shooting back. Chris, you don't know what you're talking about. We know that the shilling strengthened because there were major dollar inflows. Okay, I just have a simple question to ask you. Are you telling me that before recently, we have not had any major dollar inflows into the country? Is that what you're saying? Well, let's wait and see. And believe me, I do not mind being wrong sometimes. I don't mind. What I'm more concerned about are the fundamentals in my research. Are they correct? That is what really keeps me awake at night. Not whether my prediction came to pass or not. By the way, in my latest weekly intelligence briefings number 119, I link Ruto's frequent foreign trips to something else mind-bending. So make sure you don't miss that Moto Kuliko Pasi weekly intelligence briefing. I also still have slots left. In the 50 we had earmarked for my special report on what is really going on behind the scenes with Raila, Ruto, and Uhuru. If you're able to, that is also something you should not miss, because there are also quite a lot of linkages there that will help you to make sense of what is happening currently in Kenya. And you'll realize that it is absolutely 1000% true that there's too much happening right now in Kenyan politics. The only issue is that it is all chini ya maji, which can also be deadly. I'm sure you have seen details on your screens right now on what to do in case you want to follow my advice of not missing that special report. Highly sensitive. Now, the next political events I want to talk about are the ones that are going to tell us the future of the housing levy bill, which sailed through the National Assembly yesterday. And let us start with that retreat at Naivasha involving Kenya Kwanza troops. And of course the whole agenda was to prepare to hurriedly pass that bill through Parliament, which happened yesterday. The Swahili elders have a saying, haraka haraka haina baraka. And this is the precise fate of the housing levy. Manenos. Because in the mad rush, in the hurry, what we have ended up with is a bill that cannot survive the scrutiny of any genuine court of law in the country called Kenya. It can't! It is not only unconstitutional, this bill also contradicts itself. And finally, as I promised, the current heat Kenyans are complaining about. Now, if you went to the village where my political lecturer was born, deep in Ukambani, and you looked for an old illiterate man, and you asked them the simple question, what should you expect when there's a lot of intense heat? The weather changes and it is so uncomfortably hot. What should you expect next? This illiterate old man will give you the correct answer, which is as follows. Intense heat is followed by intense rainfall, floods. Now, just before I came in for my show today, I checked, and that is the precise prediction of weathermen outside the country called Kenya. Although you don't really need their prediction, yeah? Just do your own research. And don't forget the season which we are in, the season of judgment. It is not complete. In fact, mambo bado. And so, please join me in making an effort regularly to link various political developments that unfold in our country and also other developments which are not political that are happening in our country. Join me in making an effort on a very regular basis to find a link so that we understand it all much better. And it is all for a better Kenya. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.